about it. If she'd gone back for her shoe, would she ever have become a princess? So I find that very, very valid for everybody's life.
Thank you, Kusumji. Next, we have Tulika Saha, a writer and a poet who is versatile, adventurous, and meditative. She began her journey as the co-author of the Grow with English textbook series and followed it up with a collection of poems and a children's story. She has contributed several stories to the Chicken Soup series, and her short stories and poems appear in several anthologies. Welcome, Tulika. What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote is something I have always thought of, that night is just day without light.
Okay, great.
It's an observation, it's a very mundane observation if you look at it that way. But it tells you that every night is actually day.
Yeah.
So every bleak moment is actually a moment waiting for sunrise.
Great, very inspirational. Thank you. Our next author, Priya Narayanan, is a poet and a children's author. You can describe her as intrepid, innovative, and introspective. She has 3 published books and 2 more in the offing. And her book with HarperCollins, 10 Heads for Tanuj, was a winner at the Peekaboo Children's Literature Award in 2018. She's a professor at CEPT University and also runs her own design practice. So, Priya, what does the designer in you like as a quote?
My quote is the universe is made up of stories, not atoms. And that's what I live by. I search for stories everywhere I go, whether it's in people or whether it's in places that I visit. Yeah.
Great. Okay, next we have is Kalpana. And Kalpana is a writer, an editor, a content writer. She describes herself as bohemian, intuitive, and vivacious. And I think just one look at you and we can guess that you are indeed a very vivacious person. As I mentioned, she's a content writer by profession and a dreamer by hobby. And she needs to be dragged out from the classrooms at Hogwarts and the gardens at Manderley to focus on work, to be brought back into the physical from the dream world. She's a nonconformist by nature, and she's frequently found scrutinizing social norms and dissecting human nature. I would say you are what an author needs to be, right?
That's the best compliment I ever got as an author.
What is your favorite quote, Kalpana?
So, if you all can see the tree over there, what Miss Desai is asking me is to pick one leaf that is better than the others.
Yeah, it's a tough job, but
It's a tough job, but still, it so happens that whatever I read, something sticks with you for a while until something else comes up and takes that place. So recently, I read this phenomenal book by Yuval Noah Harari, The Sapiens. And in the beginning pages only, it states that language evolved as a means to gossip, not to exchange information. So, just adding on to what Priya said here, when we say gossip, gossip is just another word for stories. So, stories is something that humans by nature are intricately interested in. So that's what I like, how I perceive that piece of information, that quote, that gossip is like the reason language evolved was to gossip. So currently that's my favorite. Tomorrow it might be something else.
so we'll wait till you change your favorite. We'll wait to hear
It
about
might
it.
change by the time we finish.
Along with these 4 ladies, we also have 6 other authors, and I would like to tell you who they are. We have the witty, compassionate, and aesthete Anu Chopra. We have Indira Nityanandan, a teacher, a planner, and an achiever. We have Krunal Sangani, who's an explorer, a naturalist, and a very inquisitive person by nature. We have the environmentalist, traveler, and educator Madhu Menon. Shagun Shukla, a peacekeeper, healer, and another dreamer on the team. And Shruti Gohel, a doctor, a dancer, and a wanderer. So, what happens when 10 people who are dreamers, who are wanderers, who are inspired by stories around them, who have a passion for writing, what happens when they come together? What happens is a project that is innovative, that is the first of its kind, and that gives us a glimpse into characters not from the viewpoint of one author but 10 authors, and I think that is something that's extremely unique about this project. Usually when you're reading a book, you are seeing the characters, you're seeing the setting, you are experiencing the emotions, the themes from the perspective of one author. And this is a unique opportunity for us as readers to experience what 10 different people think about their characters, their themes, their ideas, and still manage to maintain a sense of consistency and keep the reader hooked. So Kusumji, I'd like to ask you, before we go on to anything else, about the process, because collaborative writing in itself is something that most of us are not aware of. So could you tell us how this idea came to you and how did the process take shape from beginning to end?
Well, you see, since collaborative writing happens very rarely in fiction, there are no laid down rules. I mean, everybody can lay down their own rules, and for us that is virtually what happened. We created our own rules as we went along. It all started when, on a trip to Mau, which is a cantonment town in Madhya Pradesh, that was quite a long time back, I saw a building. पहले ज़माने में बोलते थे ना कि खंडरात बताते हैं कि ये इमारत कभी बहुत खूबसूरत रही होगी. So I saw such an old bungalow which was looking run down, but you could see the traces of beauty. And there was one very old woman living all by herself in that massive bungalow. So naturally, when you see something like that, it sort of, triggers curiosity. And I tried to find out what her story was about, but nobody was willing to tell. And it just remained at the back of my mind for a very long time. And then I saw a young lady, must be in her 20s or something, and she was very, something you would immediately get attracted to. She had a lovely face, but she had this wild curly hair, which was always going out in different directions. So these two characters stuck in my memory until one day I sat down and I said, I have to create a story around them. Somehow I'm going to link the two of them. And I wrote a whole chapter with these two ladies, the old lady and the young lady, and I added two more characters, to give it shape. And by the time I finished with that chapter, I found that there were so many leads coming out of it, I didn't know which to carry forward. Every time I would grab one lead, then I would feel, nahi, wo side le lo to wo acha rahega. It's like that. So it just got sort of tucked away into my desk. And every now and then I would try to refresh it, but I couldn't do it. And I was quite stuck, and I don't like, leaving something untended. By that time, WhatsApp came to Ahmedabad. So by that time, I was a member of several literary groups on WhatsApp. I put out a notice on that. If anybody is interested in collaborative writing, get in touch with me. That's how the project started. A number of people joined me at my house on the designated date, and we had a long discussion about whether collaborative writing is possible in the first place for fiction, because everybody has their own ideas, and coming together, a lot of ego is involved, a lot of different styles of writing are involved. There is a lot of thought which might be totally out of phase with each other and what could happen. So over a period of a few weeks, the crowd dwindled down to about 15. And that is when we started reading the chapter and trying to absorb it and trying to figure out, who would actually go forward with it. So eventually we came down to the 10, me plus 9, 3 beautiful ladies here, and you've heard about the missing members.
Yeah.
So there was a commitment that this is a project that we are going to complete come what may, because we want to hold the book in our hands. That was our goal, that we want to hold the book in our hands. Do we have a copy of the book?
Yeah, here it is. This is the book.
So
Hold it one more time.
this is the book. It's called Altitudinous, Seekers, Sinners and Secrets.
So I have a question about the title, but that can wait for some time.
So what happened is that we evolved our own system. I read out that chapter 2-3 times, and then somebody volunteered ki I know how I want to take this story forward. So she wrote another chapter, and when she read it out, we were to meet twice a month. We worked out that deal amongst us, that we have to meet twice a month and a chapter has to be read out. So it was like, when you're running a relay race, you pass the baton. So the chapter would be the baton, And because you don't know how the next person is going to take it forward, obviously you can't plan ahead कि नहीं मेरा turn आएगा तो मैं ये लिखूंगी. ऐसा नहीं होता है. So it was a process, Of course there were delays. There were times when the chapter which was written and when it was read and everybody had absorbed it afterwards, we would say, yaar, ye to nahi baith hai. So that is heartbreaking. All of you who have ever written anything over here, just imagine if somebody told you, nahi, ye to bilkul nahi chalega. It would break your heart. So we've all gone through that, the guillotine on the chapter.
Yeah.
Absolute heartless guillotine. And then for days, nobody would be saying anything on our group. And then slowly, somebody would get up and ring up somebody and say, yaar, itna mat karo, aise karte hain, aise karte, aise karte. And then we get back into action. So ये सब process हुआ हमारे साथ. That is why it took us 3 whole years to write this book. Because there would be gaps. Because we were 8 women and 2 men. And obviously in everybody's life, writing is not the major thing. Everybody has day jobs. Everybody has families. So there sometimes would be a big gap because writing takes a back seat. Sometimes because of this guillotine, we would be having gaps. Sometimes, we would just disagree on something. Ultimately, after 10 chapters, and one more thing is that since we were all strangers to each other, we had to get to know each other. Now, you don't get to know a person sitting at a meeting or something. The best way to get to know a person and how the person thinks is to read that person's writing.
Absolutely.
So by the time 10 chapters were written, we knew each other through their writings. And then we sat down to map out a plot. So that is how things moved. Only after 10 chapters, and in those 10 chapters, I think 2-3 had been guillotined. So that is how the process moved forward. And we did map out a plot, and then we sort of, those who were really good in research, you research this, and somebody would say, okay, I researched this angle, I researched that angle, and then pool all the information and take it forward. So that was a fairly long process. And sometimes heartburn would happen because somebody wanted to take it in this direction and somebody wanted to go in that direction.
That is something one would think of first when you talk about a collaborative project, right?
Yes.
The way you have described it, Kusamji, it takes me back to my student days when we used to have group projects and people would be sort of grappling and squabbling and grappling with responsibilities and squabbling about who's going to do what and what direction the work is going to take. So I'm sure it must have been very challenging, and not just because of the sheer physical difficulty or the sheer logistical difficulties of getting 10 people together, taking time out, as you said, from everybody's schedules, but also in terms of the writing itself, isn't it? Because you just mentioned that you didn't know these people so well before you started writing. So 10 unknown people and people who may not necessarily have the same style or the same language, the same voice when it comes to writing. And then here you are coming together and trying to have one cohesive piece of narrative among the 10 of you. So I'd like to ask Priya. Priya, you have written primarily for children. Now this year is a romantic, a book which has some romance, it has elements of a thriller. How was your experience and what was the effect of this having 10 people, 9 other people with you, each with their own distinctive styles and backgrounds, and what went through your mind as you were reading each chapter and trying to come up with a chapter of your own?
Yeah, so it was pretty challenging, but I think the best part about all 10 of us is that I think you would have realized by now we were really adventurous and we really wanted to do,
Something different, yes.
do something really different. And it was very challenging and each of us took up the challenge. For me, yes, it was very different. When you're writing for children, you are an 8-year-old or a 6-year-old and you're writing from their perspective.
Right.
And now I have to write a murder scene or a romantic scene.
Absolutely.
It was completely out of my arena. So I had to kind of go back and convince myself first that I could write it. It was a doubt in my mind, will I be able to pull it off? So I had to kind of convince myself. But once I started writing, then I think if you're a writer, whether you write for children or for adults, you just,
It flows.
Yeah, it just flows. So that way, but yes, there was this challenge of different genres. And in a way, I think it has helped me grow as a writer because now I have realized my hidden, potential. I know that I can write for a different audience.
You needn't limit yourself to one
Yes,
genre.
yes. That's something which
Great.
I think is a very big takeaway for me through this collaborative novel
I'm
experience.
sure so many times we sort of limit ourselves to one area which maybe we are most comfortable with.
Yes.
But there are talents.
Yeah.
And
Totally
they're
pulled out
hidden.
of your comfort
And
zone.
Yeah.
Because you get a chapter in which there's something going on and you have to take it forward. You cannot say, I'll ignore, all the gruesome murders happening there and I'll just, turn it into a hunky-dory kind of a story. I can't do that. I have to go ahead with the murder. It's like that.
Right. So, come on, murder. Let's take you by the horns, right? Great. Kalpana, I'd like to ask you again something similar to what we spoke about. But from your perspective, how did these differences affect you at the level of being a writer? You've always been a content writer, so I'm assuming you're very versatile. When you write, you have to be versatile, right? You have to be prepared for any kind of writing. So the versatility was always there. But then when you are working with 9 other people, and each one has a different thought process, and Kusumji was telling us about how they would meet twice a month. When you had these twice a month sessions and there were discussions and maybe a chapter was being guillotined, what was your learning or what did you feel about the whole process? If you were to take a step back and sort of flash back onto them, what are those few things that you would always remember?
So in hindsight, the first thing that I would remember is why I got involved. And for me, the only thing in the very beginning, not later on, but in the very beginning, the only thing was experimenting. The idea sounded so exciting.
Right.
Ki, acha, everybody is writing, okay, I will also write. I will also come along.
Right.
And let's see. So, in the beginning, many of us were very optimistic. We'll have to give it a shape of a book. And I was like, करते तो हैं, देखा जाएगा. That was my initial point of view. So, as you said, what happened was that initially it was of course very difficult. It was difficult because we didn't know each other.
Yeah.
It was difficult because each of us had different writing styles. But slowly, gradually, especially at that point when we sat down and edited those 10 chapters, we realized that everybody is bringing in something new, something different. So we are getting layers, we are getting different, the process, the book, the product is getting enriched in ways that we had not imagined earlier.
Yeah,
So what had happened though at that time, we were thinking ki, oh god, it's going in 10 different directions, we cannot let this happen, it is one book, we have to chop this off, chop that off, and then bring it into this, direction, and let's stop this and let's stop that. So at that time, that was our mind space. This is not working.
Yeah.
But now I realize that even the portions that we chopped off, somehow enriched it. Enriched the entire book, the text, the nuances, the characters. Things started making sense.
Yeah.
Now in hindsight, it makes much more sense than it did then.
Yeah.
I realize it now. Another thing that recently, just one day, I was thinking about all this, that and in the wonderful journey that I have been a part of, I was lucky to be a part of. I realized I somehow got it connected with the quote by Three Musketeers, that all for one and one for all.
Yeah.
So somehow the 10 of us put our heart and soul into one product, and somehow we also took a lot from this process.
Yeah.
So it was like, by the end of it, that's the best way I can describe it now, that it was all for one and one for all. Everybody enriched it, and the process enriched each one of us.
Did it at any point of time, did the background differences come into play in a significant way?
They did.
You all come from different
Yes,
professions, backgrounds, age groups.
So what
That
happened
clear.
was, so like Priya said, I would just add on to build up on what she had said. We got a chance, or maybe we were just thrown into the water and we were asked to swim into areas that we would not have otherwise explored. While writing a novel myself, I never think I would personally, even like before this, I would have thought about bringing in the medical nuances in it.
Right.
So I would just go to a doctor, to those terms, पूछ के somehow I would have written them, added them, and be done with it.
Right.
But that helped because we had a doctor in our team.
Yeah.
So that was one aspect. The adventure camping one was another aspect because we had an adventure
Yeah.
traveler amongst
You
us.
had a traveler.
We had a journalist amongst us.
Yeah.
So all these things did come into play.
Right.
So again, coming back to this, all for one and one for all, but the book got really enriched because of all that. So the differences in the beginning, till the time we came to that pedestal where we each one of us was comfortable with the others, it was a struggle.
Yeah.
But then after that, the struggle was not that big because, like ma'am had said, initially many people had come, but 10 of us stayed. At the end of 2-3 months, it did not take a lot of time.
Yeah.
At the end of 2 or 3 months, 10 of us stayed. So somehow, even in a like minuscule scale, that bond was beginning to form.
It was 10 people who had committed to it. And you stayed with it, right?
Yes, and
for 3
also
years.
what had happened ki if I really would not have got along with say 2 of them, I would not have been there for the 3rd or the 4th meeting.
Absolutely.
So those differences very early were sorted out because at the end of the day we were writers. Our ideologies did not vary that much.
Yeah.
Our professions, our backgrounds, our
Yeah.
ages did. But our ideologies, our idea of creation did not vary that much.
Great, great.
So that after a point stopped mattering. Apart from the fact that it was enriching, but it stopped affecting the process in a negative way after say 2 or 3 months in the beginning.
You got on the same page pretty soon.
Yes, we
Right?
did.
Great.
I'd like to tell you all something, that by the time we got into the book, we had melded so much as a group that one lady's husband was transferred across India to Visakhapatnam. She still remained in the group and she used to write from there and send it to us. And when we were doing the final editing, if we found a missing patch, we just had to tell her, page so and so, do something to connect that little gap over there, and she would write it and send it. So she remained a part of us in spite of the physical difference. I mean, right across India. You know, we are Ahmedabad here, and Visakhapatnam is the opposite end. So that's the way the group came together.
Great. Tilika, we've spoken a lot about how the book is different because it's a collaborative effort. But for a reader who picks up the book and is not necessarily, affected by the fact that there are 10 authors instead of 1, what would you say is that element or that set of elements that makes your book different, that sets it apart from any other book that your reader has read?
Yes. So, the Altitudinous is written by so many people, 10 people, but when you read it, it has been so seamlessly integrated that the reader would never guess which paragraph I have written or which one Priya has written or Sheetal or anyone, and they would not even guess which was the first chapter that Prasamji mentioned. All of it has been so well amalgamated that there is no difference now. In fact, if you ask me to pick out a line which I have written, it would be really difficult for me. So that is one thing. But there are many elements in this which the reader will find very appealing. For one, there are very few thrillers which are completely Indian in nature. So this you will identify with all the symbols and signs which are used in the book. The language is what Indians speak normally, the English we normally speak, not the Queen's English. And so that is one part of it. Also, most of us are attracted to thrillers because they are fast paced, they tell a story. The story also begins with something quite Indian, so that would again appeal to a large segment. We have also a lot of romance in it, which would appeal to a younger crowd and would really spice things up if you're looking for that. So in effect, I feel this would appeal to a large segment of the populace. It is not something that only somebody who's a 20-something would want to read, or someone who's above 40 would want to read. There's something in it for each and every age group. So if a person picks it up and does take the trouble to go through it, then very quickly they will identify with either of the characters, the main characters, or they will find some situation where they would feel that they might have been in it, or they might have seen something like it. So I feel that is what adds to its appeal.
As readers in India, it's always refreshing to have a story that is set in India and it still gives you that thrill that you're usually you would find only, say, in a Jeffrey Archer or any other author from the Western world. Tulika, one more question for you. Your title is something that's very different, and as such, the first time I saw it, I did not get a clue that it's about a thrill. There's something about a murder in it. It's a very different title. It draws you in. It makes you wonder what the book would be about. How did you all come together and settle upon this as the title?
Well, actually, we began with quite a different title.
Okay.
And it was based completely on the character which ma'am had created. That was Nirali, the girl with the curly hair and all. So our working title for the most part was Nirali. But at the end of the whole process, when we had added so much to it, everyone had contributed to it, there was this huge action plot going on which became central to the novel, and there was a drug created, and it also reflected the Himalayas, which were featuring a lot in the book.
Right.
So the drug and the altitudes, I think, contributed to altitudinous.
Right.
It's not a word you'll find in the English dictionary. It's a Latin word, actually.
That's what sort of makes you intrigued about what the book would be about, right?
Yeah.
So, it's been really interesting listening to this very novel concept, this very different approach to writing, and I can only imagine the kind of discussions that would have started and then sort of led to people sort of dropping off by the roadside, and then this team of 10 people emerging at the end of it. And again, I can only imagine the struggles, the challenges. I'm sure you would have had your moments as well, your memorable moments as well. And to illustrate the kind of challenges that they faced, and the kind of fun that they had, and the kind of product that they came up with at the end of this entire process of 3 years, we are going to have a very interesting exercise called the round robin collaborative writing exercise. I am going to read out a sentence from your book, And let's see if you can do here what you have done for the last 3 years. So I'm going to read out a line, and I would want each one of you to make up the story as we go along, right? Let's see what 3 years has taught you. So, chapter 1, I'm not going to go too far looking for something. This is a line from the first paragraph of the first chapter. To date, he had sent over 20 batches of trekking enthusiasts successfully to the highest and toughest peak in the vicinity of Manali. I don't know who he is. Tell us more.
He sent 20 teams to.
He had sent over 20 batches of trekking enthusiasts successfully to the highest and toughest peak in the vicinity of Manali. So we are in the mountains already.
After that, his thoughts possibly turned to the idea. His thoughts possibly turned to the idea of why stick only to the mountains, even though he was fascinated by them, by the Himalayas. There are mountains all over India. So there we have, he has the Vindhya mountains in central India. There are the Western Ghats, which are a very interesting place. Then we have the Blue Mountains down south, which all three, they possess a lot of potential for exploiting as adventure camps for young people who would be enthusiastic about exploring that arena. And he thought back to his last vacation, which was in the Northeast. The Northeast is a natural wonderland which offers you a smorgasbord of sceneries, scenarios, areas, geographical and natural wonders. So he wondered whether he could start setting up adventure camps in perhaps the Northeast, starting off with the Northeast and then moving to other more interesting places.
Okay, Priya, you want to go next?
I think the mention of Northeast kind of triggered an idea. We all know what's happening with CAA and NRC now. So Nikhil smiled at the thought of, and he was talking to his wife Sudha, his business partner too, and he was excited by the fact that they could set up camps in the Northeast, and he asked his wife, "Do you remember Sudha, the guy we trekked with last year, Adil? He's from Assam, and I think he can make a good local assistant for us at the base camp in for our camps in the Northeast." He was really excited about the thought, but Sudha was not. Are you crazy or something? In this political atmosphere, you want to set up camps in the Northeast? It's going to spell doom for our company. And as for Adil, I wonder whether he'll even be counted as an Indian citizen by the time we get there. So I don't think it's a good idea, not at all.
Okay, who would like to take the story further?
I have an idea here. So Sudha is not interested in expanding her business into the Northeast. She says it's because of the political situation there, but perhaps it is for some other reason. The reason could be, I don't know, an affair with maybe
an old flame, maybe?
No, we have had enough old flames.
Okay.
We want a new flame here. So maybe it is someone, I don't know, her new friend Supriya, something to do with her, or her husband Saurabh. Maybe she has new friends and she has started rethinking about her relationship with her husband. Maybe she doesn't want to, get more entangled into the family business.
Okay.
And
Devika,
maybe
can
that's
you
the
take it
real
further?
reason and not the political reasons.
Sudha thought deeply about what Nikhil had said, and her mind drifted back to one of the camps that she had been to with Nikhil. There she had met someone, and the feelings that the person had triggered off was something that she had never experienced before. So but she had to push it out of her mind because she had to attend a business meeting. So she headed to the hotel where she was about to meet someone from an international agency who was going to contribute greatly to their business. And she waited there, twirling her hair as she always did, sipping her coffee and looking at the points on her phone. When she heard a mellifluous voice say deeply, "You still do that?" And when she looks up, she is shocked.
I wonder whether it's Supriya or Saurabh standing there.
Great. So
We don't know who it is.
This wife. So you can guess. You can add to the story if you want to. Yes.
Please do. Go ahead. So we have one more. A sequel. Interesting collaboration.
But are you sure? Have you read the book?
And Sudha was so surprised to see that mellifluous sound was none other than that of Adil. And so she thought of asking her husband Nikhil as to what was his real reason for expanding business in the Northeast at such troubled times. Nikhil said that if as a man in this country of money and worth, if I cannot support somebody who needs support, then what is the purpose of my existence? And so she changed her mind.
That's another one.
And I'm so happy. I think you should be very proud. You have started inspiring people already to jump onto the collaborative writing bandwagon. While I enjoyed this, my head is swimming with a Nikhil and an Adil and a Supriya and a Saurabh.